Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of the Flip City Podcasts. And here we are. Greg, we're here. We're back, baby.
Oh, yes.
We passed the test. Apparently, you enjoyed yourself, I enjoyed myself, and more importantly, your sister enjoyed herself. So that's why we're back.
Is that the only listener that we had was my sister? Is that confirmed?
She's our one subscriber. We have one subscriber.
Ah.
And
I can't wait to see her later today and be like, "You're my subscriber."
You're it. You are the one. So, Greg, who's your favorite wrestler?
The GOAT, Shawn Michaels.
Okay, well, first off, I don't know if GOAT is the proper term. My favorite wrestler, Bret the Hitman Hart. That is GOAT worthy right there. So
yeah, smelly GOAT worthy.
All right, so dude, before we get into today's topic, how was your week? How was your weekend? Did you enjoy the first week of having the pod out there and in the air and listening to it and all that?
It was very intense. I couldn't go anywhere in my local, neighborhood without being bombarded by the millions and millions of fans. No, it was cool. It's very interesting. I mean, I had some realizations that I guess people have been telling me for years, and I guess I never listened. But damn, my sisters are right. I sound like a dang Ninja Turtle when I talk, and unintentionally. So that's just who I am. And like I said on the first episode, Hot Takes with Greg is just my life. And boy, I think I had like 72 hot takes on that first episode. So it was...
Hot Takes with Greg is definitely a everyday occurrence. Not just in Ghostbusters, but everywhere else. And so we've got a couple episodes coming up that we've got planned, and so it's going to be fun. We're just going to keep taking it from there, and as long as it's fun, we're going to keep doing it, and it'll be a blast.
Oh yes, I'm looking forward to it.
What was the weekend like? What'd you do?
We had my daughter's dance recital, so and she danced to some of my favorite music. We listened to some MC Hammer, which was very, proud dad moment. Everybody was going nuts. So I would say the whole array of music that they did hit very good on the retro different vibes. And was that Friday? Maybe Thursday? Thursday, I took a ride with Rocco to go sell some childhood memories back to my local retro store. And what's cool is they'll be there in a museum, like Indiana Jones style, because they belong in a museum. Some 12-inch classic turtles and Hulk Hogan. Not the best version of Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, but just that crummy red and yellow son of a gun.
No, wait, but hold on a second. Wait. The Ninja Turtles that you got rid of, they're the original, like tall guys. They're the original.
So I had from childhood, original 1989 giant Ninja Turtles, and they have traveled with me through my 40 years of life, and they just never made the cut as far as things that I would put on display, except for one. So because Playmates is being so fabulous and reissuing all of these classic toys, I sold my original set and bought myself just a Michelangelo that I can keep on display. And it's not exact, but it's pretty dang close. And what's even crazier is it looks like a 2-up version of a regular Ninja Turtle toy. Like, it's solid. Like, if you threw it at somebody, it's gonna hurt.
You got to post a pic of it and all that so we can compare and contrast what you actually gave up, because you gave up the originals for a reissue. I'm not trying to shame you. I'm just trying to tell you, you gave up the real deal.
Listen,
you didn't want to break up the set. Why couldn't you just get rid of three?
I looked them up on eBay, and if you sell them together, and nobody wants just. If I would have just kept Michelangelo, you might as well just I don't know. Nobody wants Raphael. Somebody will buy Leonardo and somebody will buy Donatello. But Raph, I feel like if you don't package him with the other three, you're just gonna maybe there's some disgruntled dude out there that likes Raphael and like, but I don't know anybody whose favorite Ninja Turtle is Raphael.
Really? You don't think so? I mean, he's not my favorite, but
yeah,
there's nobody.
I don't know. I've never met them, and right. if I had met them, they were probably a grumpy jerk. Okay.
All right, on the count of three, say your favorite Ninja Turtle. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Michelangelo. That's right. Correct. So there you go. Did we just become best friends?
Again. But I mean, at a close second is Casey Jones for me. So
he's not a turtle. I mean, he's a side guy.
I mean, he's a Ninja Turtle at Jace. Okay.
Yes, I mean he's not part of the original squad, but he's part of the team. He's in the team.
One would say he had more fight scenes in that 1990 live action movie than Raphael, who spent some time at the movies and knocked out. So I'm pleading my case here.
One would also say that he's a murderer. He clearly attempted murder on Shredder. He does not have ninja values, I guess, or Splinter values. That was like, oops, and then all right. We're not talking about Ninja Turtles here. Hold on a second. Wait. We gotta go on to the next thing. Then you sold Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
The Hulkster, Hulkamania, is dead in your house. You just sent him away.
It's no longer running wild. It's standing still in a display case at Retrosource. So,
which one though? The LGN?
It was a 16. Once again, another like big toy, 16-inch, like I think 85. I've had it since I was like 2. But they have it had like the fabric shirt, and I don't know if I ever had the championship belt with it. Or younger Greg lost that belt. But once again, it was in the same bucket as the Turtles for the last 15 years. And it was like, I prefer Hollywood Hogan. Because growing up, I was always a Piper guy. You know, you could keep Hogan.
So we definitely got to get into this in a second. Because like this guy, the problem with the 16-inch Hogan was there was nobody else for him to fight. It was like
they did make a Piper, and
right.
This little fan of Piper got a Hogan, so maybe there has always been beef with that Hulk Hogan figure that I'm just bringing up to the surface now.
You just looked at him with disdain for too many decades, and now he had to go.
Yeah, seriously, go drop your leg somewhere else, Hulk.
So where'd they go? Where'd you send them? I mean, where did you sell them to?
So I took them to Retrosource, which is a local store to me. They are a retro video game and collectible store in Farmingville, Long Island. And it is a spot that we hit pretty regularly as a fam and with friends because you can go there and play arcade games, for $0.25. Or you can buy some retro video games like Rocco picked up. He's getting big into basketball over the last couple of months, so he was able to pick up like I think NBA 2K22 for his Switch, which for like $12. So that's for him. He went in there with the 20. He left with a video game, a handful of Airheads, and a Mountain Dew Baja Blast. So it was a good day.
Does he even know that he's living the best life ever?
Try to explain it to him, but and it's just crazy how it aligned. He saw that they had Baja Blast as we were leaving, and he's like, "I got $2," and I was like, "I don't know if you're gonna have enough. You gotta remember tax." And this dude had $2.17 exact in his pocket. It was like a Mountain Dew, monumentous occasion.
It was a soft drink fate. It was the
yes.
It was meant to be. Oh man, that's so cool, dude. That's awesome. All right, so here's the thing. Let's get into because you bring up Hulk Hogan. We talked about it last time. Let's talk wrestling origin stories.
Sounds good.
Okay, because when you bring up Hulk Hogan and the LJNs, like I lived in that era. I lived during the birth of Hulkamania. I lived during the Rock and Wrestling Connection, and it was literally like my birthright. Like I was brought into wrestling through my brother, who was already he's my brother's 9 years older than me, so he had 70s wrestling experience, and then I came into the world, and I was literally there. I mean, I was as a kid, my brother had the tickets to go to Madison Square Garden when Hulk Hogan defeated the Iron Sheik, and like everything started from there. I was home when he came home, having seen that live, and so literally I was around during the birth of it all, and so that makes me old, very old. It's because it was one of those things. Where it was just always there. It was always around. It's like, it's like kids today will never know what it's like to not have the internet. I will never know what it's like to not have wrestling in my life because it was always just there. But I wasn't a Hogan guy. That was the funny thing is I was always an Intercontinental Championship guy, right? And so for me, like that title was the thing for me. And so I was into Macho Man Randy Savage. I was into Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I was into anybody below that tier of like Hulk Hogan and everybody that I was all about because I believed from the bottom of my heart that Jesse the Body Ventura and Bobby the Brain Heenan were right. That Hulk Hogan was the true heel of the WWF. That was just me.
I mean, we've learned in later years that Hulk Hogan's a true heel just in life. So
Terry Bollea he's a All right, so but what about you? When did you start? Because we've clearly established last time that you're younger than me.
So yeah,
but not by much.
So I'm gonna say probably like maybe 85. Like when was the first Saturday Night Main Event? Because
oh yeah, that was 84, 85. It wasn't long before everything.
We had a VHS with like a couple Saturday Night Main Events that I would watch, and I had like a bunch of LJNs, and like I alluded to it last time we spoke, but there was and I had like enough LJNs to go in the LJN carrying case, so like there was a significant amount of LJN figures. So that's like my first real memory of wrestling, are those those doorstop of wrestling figures. And I went out with my grandparents one day, and my mom was having a yard sale. And at that moment, she made the decision for me that, Greg was done with wrestling. And she sold my LJNs and the carrying case at a garage sale. That and the, whatever the tank is from, what's it called? From Thundercats. That was also the same day, swooped and thrown out. So I came home from with my grandparents and was in utter terror when I went into my room and saw that there was a hole of no more wrestlers. And I don't know what.
Why do our mothers do this?
I don't know, and I don't know what she expected my Thundercats to drive, but like, Lionel's not going on Battle Cat. That's a little weird. So
no, that'd be strange. You're also like, it would just be like who's in the hierarchy. Right? Clearly, they both can talk, so it's kind of weird. But oh my gosh! But hold on a second. Wait. They're all gone. So at this point, was wrestling done for you too, or was it just the toys?
So there was little bits of wrestling every now and then. Like I would go to my cousin's house, and her neighbors had every dang Hasbro and Galoob that you could think of, and I would see it there. But I never really got back into it. So wrestling was gone from my like world probably up until like 94, 95. It started like coming back for me.
Oh my
and I think
goodness. All right, so I was gonna say, so the first Saturday Night's Main Event was May 1985. Okay, so that was the very first one. It's like I remember before that too. You know what I mean? Like, and what it was. I mean, I remember the MTV. The War to Settle the Score and the Brawl to Settle It All. It was like they had these two like specials that led into what all of this would become. But it's like you skipped an entire like generation basically of wrestling in terms of watching it, right? Like you were not in the you were out of the OG area, and then you went right into the new generation.
I think that's why I have such like a love for that new generation, because I mentioned her on the last episode, but like my Aunt Edie, God bless her soul, would take me and my cousins who are 1 year older than me and then 4 years older than me, and we would go to house shows at Nassau Coliseum together.
Oh,
and
what was do you remember your first one?
It was 95, so it was at the Coliseum in the summer. I want to say, so my Aunt Edie, I mentioned last episode, she's like the fairy godmother, so she would splurge. We weren't just going to the house shows. We were getting floor seats, and she was doing like the dinner package where you get to meet the guys. So there were ones where, and like, at the time, we were mating a bunch of jabronis. But like, these jabronis, grew up and became like, so just to rattle off a couple. We met the Godwins.
Okay? Oh, yes.
We met Mosh and Thrasher, the Headbangers. Triple H and Chyna. This is like probably 95, 96, 97. That's probably the lineup over the years. Because she would buy us tickets and take us all for Easter. So
Is this still when Triple H was the Connecticut Blue Blood? Was he still the
yes.
Fancy
it
Triple
was
H?
like right on the cusp of like, all right, we're gonna get a little edgier. You're gonna be DX,
Oh man.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then when they stopped doing as many house shows, then we would go to. I think we did like 2 Raws, and that was the incident where me and my cousin decided it was a good idea to like chase Stone Cold Steve Austin into the bathroom, and it was pretty wild. And to the point where younger Greg ran up an escalator like the wrong way. And it was like, Stone Cold! I just need your autograph, Stone Cold! A little bad.
By God, son, I'm just going to the bathroom.
That's literally what it was. Like, looking back on it now, you're like, maybe if we would have like waited, asked nicely, like we probably could have got an autograph. But instead, he like booked it up the escalator away from us. So.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's a great story. When my first house show, the main event was the Hart Foundation versus Demolition.
Ugh, 2 teams that I despise.
Oh my goodness. You're breaking my heart. This is literally, these 2 teams are my top 2 teams.
What?
You're breaking my heart.
Like the GOAT, the Heartbreak Kid.
No, like Queen Amidala. You are turning to the dark side, my friend. I literally it's on the other side of this. So maybe next time I'll turn sides and we'll point the camera the other way. But I literally have some artwork featuring the Hart Foundation and Demolition battling it out, but it's just but anyway, like that was the main event for me. And then I remember, like, this is way back before cell phone cameras, before all that. I remember that I took my dad's camera to the house show, and they didn't let me take pictures because it was too nice of a camera. It was like, no, you're clearly going to sell these photos at some sports memorabilia shop. And so I remember them security taking the camera and checking it into downstairs security, and that was when I had to go downstairs after the show and claim my camera. And while I'm doing that, I'm watching all of the wrestlers leaving at the end of the show, and it was just one of those things, like one after the other. I'm seeing Rick Rude and Jake Roberts together after they had just fought, walking out the door. I'm watching all, like, literally hand in hand. That was the same house show that the Bushwhackers rubbed my head. And that was literally the epitome of wrestling fan to me. Was I got a rub on the head by Bushwhacker Luke. And thank goodness they didn't lick me. That was because I also, again, believed in Bobby the Brain Heenan, and I believed that I would catch some kind of New Zealand flu if he licked my forehead. So that was it. I was a bad guy. I loved Bobby the Brain Heenan. Like, I loved that guy. I loved Jesse the Body Ventura, the $1 Million Man. All those guys. They were my boys.
Evil heroes. But
I love them.
Well, I mean, like, the bad guys are always more interesting. I'm sorry. And like,
I just like I just wanted Hulkamania to end. Like that was the thing for me was I was rooting for the guys when Earthquake squashed Hulk Hogan on the Brother Love show. Like that to me was like, yes, it's finally going to happen. Somebody else is going to main event the pay-per-view. And it did for like a little while.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it just like I don't know. Hogan was just Hogan, and it was just like meh. Like
it was the thing for me. Like I got it. Like I 100% understood that this is the top guy. Like this is the He-Man of the group, but I was also a fan of the Masters of the Universe. So for me, it was like, yeah, He-Man's cool, but I also like Ram Man. I also like Moss Man. I also like Mechanic. Like so it was like, but what about everybody else? Like what about, all the other guys? What about Rowdy Piper? What about Ted DiBiase? Like and those guys. So I just rooted for them because I wanted, Hulk Hogan out. And I was even a fan of the Ultimate Warrior when I was a kid, just because he was not Hulk Hogan.
yeah, I mean, well, the Warrior is like that epitome of like a superhero thrown into the wrestling ring. Like he looks like he could destroy Superman. Like so, and I don't know, the two of them, like they. Yeah, they're very popular, but like again, who the biggest baby faces in the business, but outside, you're like, oh my god.
But the funny thing is, like to me, the biggest baby face in the business was when Macho Man Randy Savage was the champ after WrestleMania 4, and it was like I was all about Savage, and then I was all about everything that was happening with the Intercontinental Championship. And I don't know, when the Mega Powers exploded, I was just a kid, and I got it. Like, I was like, yeah, I'd be mad at Hulk Hogan too. Look at him. Look at him looking at Elizabeth. It's just like I 100%, backed Randy Savage at WrestleMania 5. And I was the only one among my friends, and we're all having those conversations on the bus and in lunch, and they're like, "Well, who do you think's gonna win?" And I was like, "Savage has to win. He has to defend Elizabeth's honor." But
now what's crazy is like you experienced all this stuff like as it was going on, and the first WrestleMania that I watched, WrestleMania 11.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, and I think it was the replay. I think they showed like a replay on like TV like a few months like later, because I remember being in Florida at my aunt's house. We went down to go to Disney, and I was like the only one that was awake, and I was watching WrestleMania. So, and that was kind of like it was that first time, it was probably 95, because that was the first year we went to Disney. And so, yeah.
NBC used to do that. So like NBC used to do like the abbreviated version of WrestleMania like months after WrestleMania, and it would be like, here's like half the show basically, and then like highlights of the matches and all that. And that was just the coolest thing, because what Rocco doesn't understand right now is that he could watch any wrestling match he wants right now.
Yeah.
What you had to do is we had to either hope it would show up on a clip on Superstars of Wrestling, or get a rematch on Saturday night's main event, or we had to go to the video store and hope 6 months later after the fact that we could see whatever pay-per-view was out and everybody was already talking about.
I remember going to Sam Goody and buying a VHS of like the best of WrestleMania from like 1 to like, and it was like, all right, here's 30 seconds of this match. Here's 30 seconds. And it wasn't like full matches. So it was like, or if you didn't see the pay-per-view the night before, you had to wait till the next day when they showed you those slow motion stills on Monday Night Raw. And that was brutal. You're like, just show me the dang super kick. Like, the photo is not doing anything for me. Like,
what's my favorite was like a month or two after the pay-per-view, when you got the WWF magazine. and then you got to see like all the pictures and like all that, and then the Royal Rumble issue always broke down the Royal Rumble for you, and so it actually had the listing of who came in and who threw them out and how long they lasted and all that kind of stuff. And I was such a like stats nerd, when I was a kid. I was like, oh my gosh, Ric Flair lasted the longest out of everybody, and it was just, to me, being able like to flip through it, and I would cut them up. I was as a kid, I was so into cutting it out and making collages and making all it, like, it was the absolute best. And then I still wish I had those issues.
I was gonna say, like, did you compare the notes in the Royal Rumble issue to the notes that like Lil Wayne would take on it? Because I picture you with a notebook and like a pack of crayons, and you're just like jotting it down.
I literally, like when the Rumble started, and so like 89 Royal Rumble, that was the second Rumble, but it was the first one on pay-per-view, because the first Royal Rumble was on USA Network, and that's the one that had only like 20 guys, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan won it and all that. But the second one, right? Do you remember who number 1 and 2 were on the second Rumble?
I don't think I've ever watched the second Rumble.
Oh my gosh. Imagine me, little old Wayne, sitting there.
No.
And then you hear number 1 coming out, and it's the theme song to Demolition. And then you're going, okay, who's going to be number 2? And it's the theme song to Demolition again. And then you had Axe and Smash fighting each other as 1 and 2. And then for me, I was losing my mind, because I'm watching literally my second favorite tag team explode on the Royal Rumble stage. And but yeah, man, like I had the pad and the paper, and I was totally doing that, because see, I ran, how like you hear, like, see all the figs back here, right? You hear all the guys talking about like figure feds and stuff, like in the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. I didn't have that, because I didn't have like all of these guys at the time. I just had what I called my fantasy fed. And so I had pen, paper, and dice, and I would roll to see who would win what matches and all that. And it was like, that's, to me, like, I wrote down every list. The Rumble was my roster. Like, that's how I knew who was in the WWF at the time, was everybody in that Rumble. You're in awe. You're in awe of this. You're loving my Rumbleness. It's
I don't know. How was the opening of that Rumble, seeing the 2 members of Demolition just punch each other until the next guy came in?
It was great. Do you know who the next guy was?
Was it Crush? The 3rd member of Demolition?
No, man. Crush didn't come till later. He was like 1990 or 90. Yeah, 91.
It was Kona Crush.
No, it was Andre the Giant. Andre was number 3. It was, anyway, there's like a whole thing, like, and Andre, I love Andre the Giant. I rooted for Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. I was literally probably the only child in America rooting for Andre the Giant at that time for WrestleMania 3.
There's probably at least three kids at that time that did not like Hulk Hogan.
We could form a little group, and it was like, I wanted Andre. I wanted Fezzik from The Princess Bride to win. But okay, so I want to ask you, though, how did Shawn Michaels become like your favorite?
I will say that besides Shawn, I'm a big fan of that clique. Like, and unintentionally that kind of happened, because you didn't know all of that back then. So like, when I was getting back into wrestling, Razor and like that Diesel was champion at the time. So that SummerSlam 95 was the rematch for the ladder match from WrestleMania 10 for the Intercontinental title. So It was Shawn and Razor. And that just like, at that point, blew my mind. And then we went to the house show, and Shawn, I don't think, was there, but they had just released the Jax Bone Crunching Superstars, and I bought Shawn Michaels and Undertaker as the first ones there. And Shawn was wearing the blue gear that I had just watched him on SummerSlam. So I think that lines up. But I don't know. He just kind of... Listen, Shawn was... Say what you do about Shawn. Sean's a jerk, and I really enjoyed him being a jerk to everybody else. Like, he was supposed to be a good guy, but he was just a jerk, and it was very entertaining.
So my favorite version of Shawn Michaels is, again, this is another thing about me, is freshly turned heel Shawn Michaels. Like, for me, it is Shawn Michaels has left the building.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels. It was like at that moment when he, a big fan of Bobby the Brain Heenan again, right? He, breaks up with Marty Jannetty. He throws him through the window, and then Bobby the Brain Heenan goes, "Did you see that? Jannetty tried to jump through the window and get away from Shawn Michaels." Like that whole thing, it hooked me just right there. And for that stretch of time where it just kind of felt like Shawn was just trying to be like Fonzie. Like, it was just like, like he was just cool guy in a leather jacket. Shawn Michaels has left the building. That was like the sweet spot. And it was probably that way up until, I think it was like his second Intercontinental run or whatever. It was like whenever, like, I think around like WrestleMania 10, I was like, this Shawn Michaels is cool. And then his personality really it really shifted. Like, when he became the WWE champion, when he became the world champion, I feel like he had like a huge like attitude gimmick change and all that. And it was like a big shift.
Well, I think that was the part of it, was getting in it right at that time and then literally watching the trajectory of winning the Royal Rumble. So like, you're following this story with him, which, for somebody that's newly back into wrestling was pretty cool. Like, I could relate it to like Rocco watching Cody. Like, it's the same trajectory.
True.
It's the same thing, but before we go any forward, like, you just mentioned his first WWF or / WWE championship title. Do you know who he beat for that title?
The very first
yeah, the very
one?
first one.
No, I can't. I don't even think
it was at WrestleMania.
No,
WrestleMania 12.
I was sick that day. And was it the Iron Sheik? He beat the Iron Sheik. That's who it was. No, he beat. Oh, the Nature Boy. He beat Ric Flair.
Very close.
He beat. Yes, I know. He beat Bret Hart. Yes, it was an hour-long Iron Man match, and then they went into extra innings.
Let me just.
What do they call that?
Overtime. Let me just tell you, I also think Shawn being my favorite and this rivalry with Bret and Bret fans, it just plays into like what I love about wrestling, because anybody that tells me their favorite wrestler is Bret Hart, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a Shawn guy, and then most of the time I just walk away,
stop.
But I come back and we continue the conversation after, but it's funnier that way. Like, and I think seeing Shawn once we hit like Attitude Era, like Shawn super kicking Bret into the wheelchair, like lives in my mind. Like, one of my favorite wrestling moments. Shawn with the Canadian flag in his nose dancing around. Like, that's like, he was, and like this.
Disrespectful. That was disrespectful, is what that was.
What's crazy
to the Great White North.
What's crazy is we're watching like Shawn run amok, we'll say, in WWE, and then I'm watching Razor and Diesel in WCW, because I'm jumping back and forth. Because like I said, like hot takes with Greg, there was a point where I'm like, I'm only watching WCW. This is insane. Like, so I was a totally like bold-faced lie, because I was watching both. But like,
oh, I watched the first episode of Who Killed the WCW, the Vice documentary. I watched the first episode yesterday, and I have no desire to watch another episode of that.
Was it not good?
Well, okay. First off, who killed WCW? We know who killed WCW, and it
Hulk
was
Hogan.
Hulk
Yeah,
Hogan.
that son of a gun.
It was literally Hulk Hogan, but then on top, and it was just one of those things where like the executives at Turner didn't care for wrestling, and so once Ted Turner was out of Turner, they didn't need to keep wrestling around, and to them it wasn't this nostalgic wrestling product. It was sellable goods, and they sold it. But the thing is that this documentary, the first episode was about Eric Bischoff, right? And like, whatever you think about like Eric Bischoff, we've heard his story over and over and over again. So this whole documentary just tells the same exact story. It was like, I was a salesman, I was trying to sell things, and then I came to Vern Gagne at AWA, and then he hired me, and then yada yada yada, I'm in WCW, and it was the same stuff, but all the footage that they showed was grainy WWE, WCW footage because they don't own any of that stuff, right? And so for some reason they had to put it through the filter of, just like looking at it like through like your TV, like you're trying to watch the wrestling show and you didn't pay for WrestleMania, but if you like watch every once in a while, it comes into a clear and you could see a headbutt or a super kick or something. Like that's how it came off. It was grainy footage. I was like, I could watch this on the WWE network, and it's called the Monday Night Wars, and they did it just as fine. And so to me, it was just like, I have no need to go see like the rest of it, especially if we're going to watch like 8 episodes of everybody just slamming WCW, which I thought was great, by the way. As soon as they started talking negatively of 1992, 1993 WCW, I was like, what's up with that? Like, I liked myself some PN News. Like, like I liked myself some Diamond Dallas Page in his like cigar chomping days and all that. I was actually a fan of Ron Simmons as world champion.
Well, I thought it was going to be like, I didn't realize it was episodic. I didn't think it was going to be 8 episodes. But yeah, I mean, the plan is at some point to check it out. But if you're with this review, I'm probably not going to watch it. So
you got no need, unless there's a future episode where they cover like the part that you really liked.
Yeah. I mean, but like you said, the story's been told. Bischoff tells the story on his podcast. There's not just the Monday Night Wars. I think there's like at least 32 documentaries on the WWE Network talking about WCW. And it's and they do a great job. And who cares how WCW died? Because WWE bought them, and like it doesn't, like, we don't need to know. Like I don't need from an executive level to know like, oh, it just didn't, it wasn't in the budget anymore. Like how is that a story? You're going to tell me that Hulk Hogan went in there and started hitting executives with baseball bats? I'm like, oh. So, like, maybe they just, What's the next? The next episode is Larry Zbyszko and his commentary.
I love the Cruncher.
That was his nickname?
Listen, his nickname... So Larry... I can't believe we're talking about Larry Zbyszko on the second episode of this podcast. We've run out of things to talk about, and now we're talking about Larry Zbyszko. We went straight to Z. We went to Zbyszko. When he was in the AWA, right, he was the living legend because he had a feud with Bruno Sammartino like forever ago, and so he took the living legend thing. Then, all of a sudden, when he was in WCW, in my favorite era of WCW, right, when the Dangerous Alliance existed, and it was Paulie Dangerously, and he had Ravishing Rick Rude, Stunning Steve Austin, right? Everybody's got a nickname. The Enforcer, Arn Anderson, Beautiful Bobby Eaton. Well, they weren't going to call Larry Z the living legend, so they paired Larry with Arn Anderson, and because Larry broke somebody's arm in a attack, they started calling him the Cruncher. The Cruncher, Larry Zbyszko. So you had the Enforcer, AA, Arn Anderson, and the Cruncher.
Not to be outlandish, because I didn't really watch like wrestling in WCW at that time. But knowing what I know, could they not have pivoted and just call him the Z-Man, Larry Zbyszko?
No, because they already had a Z-Man, Greg.
Oh, I understand that, but in the grand scheme of things, is Z-Man... Is it Tom Zink? Is that his name?
Tom Zink existed at the exact same time as that. They would have had to be the Battle of the Z-Man. What they should have done is teamed them together, and then they could have been the Z-Men.
Or they could have just been the Z's because they put you to sleep.
You hurt my heart when you talk about 1992 WCW that way. You just set me up. That was a whole thing, and you did it. You're a podcasting genius now, Greg. You're like... All right. Oh, so by the way, I watched NXT last night, and we're not doing like a whole lot of current stuff because this is like retro focused. But I need to tell you that NXT is good again.
That's
like
it's been good.
Yes, like the last year or so has been good, but it is good. And there's this dude who's the North American champion there right now. Oba Femi. This guy, he might as well be instead of the North American champion, they should call him the triple threat champion because all of his best matches are in these triple threat settings. And I literally thought that he was going to take Wes Lee and bury him through the canvas of the ring.
I saw the double vertical suplex, which was insane.
Oh, it was so good. And that's my favorite kind of like wrestling is like giant guys doing giant guy things, and so that was, if you watch nothing else, watch that triple threat, and it was insane.
So NXT is on fire, is what you're saying?
NXT's on fire. It's good again. I'm second guessing whether or not I should sell my NXT belt, and so
you should maybe write up an email and thank the guy that's running NXT.
Dear Sean, there's an alternate universe somewhere that Bret Hart is running NXT somewhere.
You know who ruined that? Goldberg. That's who ruined that. So who killed WCW? We figured it out. It's Hulk Hogan and Goldberg. That's
Goldberg. Ugh. One day I'm going to tell you my Bret Hart origin story, but we're running out of time.
Oh, okay.
But and I bought tickets. I'm going to go see wrestling again soon. I bought tickets to TNA. Impact Wrestling is going to be in Tampa, Florida, which is where I'm at now. And so they're going to be there in August. And I got ringside seats, baby.
That's cool.
So, yes. And so it's we're going to go. It's like a 2-day. They're doing like a bunch of tapings in a row. And so maybe maybe you could see me in the front row at a TNA show, because that's really accessible. You can watch TNA on, any platform on cable. No, you can't. Nope. Because nobody has access channel.
I watched it on Twitch once, and that was too much work. So, but then again, I have access to watch AEW, and I opt for YouTube instead.
It's the best way to do it. It's the best way. Okay, so next time we get together, we're going to do something different. We're going to do a draft. Okay? And so this is, it's kind of like our way of not just having a Sean versus Brett competition here, but it's kind of our way of really kind of like breaking down what some of our favorites of a particular topic are. And I like the idea of the draft because you and I are WWE guys, right? We've been around the WWE drafts. We've been around these, who's going to be on what brand and who's going to be on what. And so this is what my idea is, okay? And we're going to do this next episode. We're going to have the Ghostbusters draft. Me and you, we're going to come up with our own 4-person squad. We're going to have a whole roster that we could pick from. And you're going to put together your Ghostbusters team. I'm going to put together my Ghostbusters team, and we're going to talk about it.
Are only humans available in this draft, or are free-roaming vapors also available in this draft?
Okay, so this is how it's going to work. It's going to be a 4-human squad,
okay, all right.
And then to wrap it all up, we each get to pick a spectral mascot.
Ooh, can I add something? I have an idea though. Can we
Okay.
also draft vehicles? Like, so a 4-person team, a vehicle.
Okay. Okay. And this is and I'll give you this. This is what I will give you. The real Ghostbusters is canon. It is in effect in the draft. And so let's just say, like, if there's a character or person from the real Ghostbusters that you want on your group, you can. And so basically,
Oh, wait, whoa. We're not just talking Ghostbusters? Like, I could take anybody?
so what we're doing here is you can pick from Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, Extreme Ghostbusters, Real Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2016, and of course the Afterlife movies. I'm not including the comics because you're not a comics guy, and that wouldn't be fair.
Have a comic.
A comic? Is it a Ghostbusters comic?
It is, and it's got a... Oh, it's the one where all the teams converge, so that's going to be my cheat sheet.
All right, so that's what we're going to do next time is we're going to do the Ghostbusters draft, and it's going to be fun. It's something different, but we're going to get to kind of talk about really anybody that we want to talk about and add to our team, and what our philosophy is, why we put this person in. Like, why wouldn't you just go with the original 4 in this? So we're gonna break it up, and we'll decide everything live on the show. No pre-picks, no negotiations ahead of time. It's all going to be live.
Sounds good.
All right. Where can everybody find you online?
You can follow me at Greg Gosline on Instagram, or check out my website for design and all things art at ggdc.art. Click the shop link there. You'll actually see some Flip City Podcast merch there. So show us some support. Grab a shirt.
Grab a shirt. Are there socks on there?
Oh yes. There's socks. Oh. They come in pairs of 2. It's crazy.
You know what? Hit up the Shop Zone for a trucker hat also.
Yes, true.
I ordered a trucker hat today.
Nice.
So I got a Flip City Podcast trucker hat coming my way. It's literally the only Flip City item you have on your other shop. So it better all be on your links. You better add everything on your links, because we're going full board with this trucker hat. We're making it a thing. Trucker hats are coming back, baby.
I don't know if I'm on board with that.
Bring please, man. It's what fits my head. We need trucker hats to come back, man. All right. Look us up online, Flip City Ghostbusters on Instagram, and One to Grow On podcast on Instagram as well. And that's it. Another incredible episode, Greg. So here we are.
Yeah, it was a blast. I had fun talking. The graps, as people say.
All right. Well, see you on the other side,
All right,
Greg.
Party on, Wayne.